G'day, May 40 here, back again. Lost the last stream, so let me play a little bit from Fox News here to bring us
Palestinian protesters.
on this story.
Close your eyes!
So watch this truck pour through.
Close your eyes!
Abhorrent violence breaking out over the weekend in Los Angeles after a group of anti-Israel agitators blocked the entrance to a synagogue, sending fists flying in the riot police response. Chief Correspondent Jonathan Hunt is live in Los Angeles with the latest. Hello, Jonathan.
Good morning, Mike. They were extraordinary scenes, pitched battles being fought between pro-Palestinian protesters who targeted a synagogue and members of that synagogue and of the Jewish community that surrounds it. This all taking place in the heart of Los Angeles, in the middle of one of the city's largest Jewish communities. About 100 pro-Palestinian protesters descended on the area Sunday morning, and almost immediately violence broke out as those protesters tried to block the entrance to the Torah synagogue. Jewish counter-protesters tried to push them back, and for some time violent fights broke out between the two sides.
When they're screaming globalize the Intifada, they're screaming kill Jews for being Jews, and no, not gonna let that happen.
Okay, let's rejoin the conversation with Dooovid. So back to you, Dooovid.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of interesting angles to take it, and because these protests are all over the place, and I don't know the city layout of Los Angeles and the Jewish community or the proximity with the Arabs, or I was listening on Zeb Brenner the other day to Kalman Yeager, the congressman from, the city councilman from New York, and he was mentioning that like there's a sizable element within city council that he would say is like straight up anti-Semitic Jew haters. I think he said like 6. I guess there's 51 members, and that there's even been resolutions. A place where you've had regular protests is like in Teaneck, New Jersey, and like I've been in Teaneck. I had friends there many times. In like Englewood, were actually relatively pretty wealthy areas, but I think like the city council actually passed a ceasefire resolution, and we'll say like even though it's a modern Orthodox area with tens of thousands of Jews, that the demographics is that the majority of city council is anti-Semitic, and there's a growing Muslim population, and within the districts also is like a less wealthy African American. So you have situations where there's regular protests, and a lot of these are Palestinian activists that are bussing in. But at the same time, it's like actually their neighbors who are protesting them regularly. And, so I'm not sure if it's getting to the point where you have Palestinian activists and protesters, but they live on the other side of town. And maybe for this event, they went into town and the Jewish community is relatively safe. Or if you're reaching the point where it's actually regular conflict with your neighbors. And just one last mention, because we both know a lot about the Holocaust history, and I'm sure you've heard countless Holocaust survivors tell their stories. But like one of the things a lot of people who lived through Kristallnacht mention is it was their neighbors when their synagogues were being like burnt down or stones, or when things started getting bad. It was their own neighbors that were like turning against them and beating them up and destroying their synagogues. And if it's possible to draw some, is that possible that we're reaching some point of brink, God forbid, where you could see like, your own neighbors are going to turn against you?
Yeah, I don't think as yet, because overwhelmingly pro-Palestine and pro-Israel people live in completely different neighborhoods. So I don't think we're at civil war yet.
So, I mean, you think that these protesters, they traveled to this event, and it wasn't in their, even the locals, that wasn't I mean, the possibility that you had Palestinian protesters like in Detroit, and then some locals would join in. But you're saying almost all of these protesters came from a different location for this protest, and it was relatively small, and their numbers weren't growing as it was going on.
I don't think I said all those things. I just said that overwhelmingly Jews and Muslims live in very different neighborhoods in the United States and in Los Angeles. So these weren't these Muslim protesters would be very unlikely to live in the neighborhood. Why would you want to create that sort of trouble? So I think it's a good bet that they come from outside the neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean, some of these natures of the protest, and I've been putting a lot of study like at mass movements, and maybe it's an interest of yours in how these things grow. But I mean, some protests grow in size as they happen. And so if you're saying it was just 150 people, they went out to the event, and at the end of the protest, it was the same 150 people, or did the pro-Palestinian protesters swell, or is the opposite? Like it was the Jewish counter protesters that swelled, and if at the beginning there were 150 pro-Palestinian protesters and just a handful of Jews that weren't prepared for it, by the end of it there was like 500 Jews and still just the same 150, maybe even less of the original protesters.
Correct, the latter. So the pro-Palestine crowd did not grow; it diminished over time, while the pro-Israel crowd just kept growing. Because it's in the Jewish neighborhood, so the pro-Palestine people had to travel, right? There's a lot more opportunity cost. It's a lot more aggravation for them to have to make the trip to a Jewish neighborhood as opposed to people who live in the neighborhood.
Yeah. So I mean, there's certain examples across New York and the U.S. where that's not the case, and I mentioned specifically like Englewood, New Jersey, where I mean, have there been like I know in my local area you have like ceasefire resolutions, and a lot of these places, like it's consistent, like they've been promoting ceasefire resolutions every single council meeting for months now. Certain ones have passed it, and there's certain Jewish communities where even though there's a sizable Jewish community in that area, that the local municipality still passed a ceasefire resolution. I'm not sure if you're following like local stuff like that in your area, if there's a comparable thing.
I'm sure there is, but I don't think we're seeing any sweeping change in public sentiment on the Arab-Israeli conflict. Most Americans overwhelmingly care about the United States of America. They don't care about the Middle East. So it's not like there's a groundswell of just pro-Palestinian sentiment sweeping across the United States. Right? You've got a small segment of the United States that cares intensely about Israel. You've got a small segment of the United States that cares intensely about Palestine and against Israel. Overwhelmingly, Americans have other priorities.
Yeah, I saw the survey. It said like 8% of university students participated in the encampments or pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel activity, which is sizable. 8%, sizable chunk of the population, but it's still a vast minority. And certain like even here in Metro Detroit, there's sustained protests, and every week, but mostly they're based in Dearborn. So every week there'll be a protest that at least has a few hundred people, and every once in a while they'll be able to mobilize a protest that has even thousands or even 10,000 people, and sometimes they'll be able to mobilize it in Detroit. And like if Biden or a politician comes, there's enough people to have sustained protest at basically every political gathering, especially in certain hotbeds like the universities or majority Arab neighborhoods. And I assume, like I'm following in Los Angeles, that it's probably also like that too, where you have sustained weekly protests in certain areas, and then they occasionally, like once a month, are able to muster even thousands, even tens of thousands of people, and that would most likely be in like a central downtown area.
Yeah. Okay, Dooovid, I'm going to move on. Any final words?
Yeah, well, we appreciate you going IRL to that thing, and I guess I mean, God forbid, it's kind of exciting. So even though the danger of the situation, danger is exciting. So, props to you, and, God bless, stay safe, and, keep reporting.
Okay, thanks, Dooovid. Good to catch up with you. All right, let's get back to this Fox News report.
Riot police intervened to try to keep the two groups apart and clear the pro-Palestinian protesters from the Jewish neighborhood, but tensions remained high for several hours.
Okay, so Fox News was actually covering this story live a few minutes ago.
Not supposed to fight back? Sounds like an Israeli.
Representative Anna Paulina Luna joins me now. It looks like the party's fractured, Congresswoman. Hillary is endorsing Fire Marshal's opponent. He's calling in backup. AOC's jumping around. What is happening?
Well, it appears, Jesse, that I might be have some groundbreaking news. According to an internal tracking poll, I actually just heard today that Jamal Bowman is projected to lose his election. So it looks like you're seeing a...
That he definitely knows.
Okay.
This is the constant problem with the Democrats is they always try to accuse us of what they hope for, what they're guilty of. Jesse, I've seen over the last couple of years, especially as a member of Congress, the rhetoric that this administration has really displayed, not just to members of Congress, but also to independents, to Democrats that have left the Democrat Party because of what they've seen happen with this administration. And the fact is, Jesse, is that they realize that they're losing this election. They're trying to already define a Trump administration before Trump is sworn into office as a 47th president, despite their attempts to keep him out of office. But I'm very much so looking forward to seeing that debate, seeing President Trump present all this information to the American people, and really to getting out from under this administration.
I've never seen anybody just going back, and I hate to bring this up, the love fest with Bowman and AOC. Did you see the hug? Now, I don't know if you hug.
Okay, I don't care about that partisan talk.
One point, at least 8 officers with weapons drawn ordered 2 pro-Palestinian protesters from their car, clearly concerned the vehicle itself could be used as a weapon. Los Angeles Mayor Karen...
Well, I think we saw at the very beginning of this segment this same vehicle being used as a weapon.
Bass condemned the protesters, saying, quote, "Today's violence in the Pico Robertson neighborhood was abhorrent, and blocking access to a place of worship is unacceptable. I want to be clear that Los Angeles will not be a harbor for anti-Semitism and violence. Those responsible for either will be found and held accountable." Now, Mike, I spoke to Rabbi Chaim Mentz of the nearby Chabad of Bel Air as the violence was playing out yesterday. He told me he found it reminiscent of the Nazi youth on the streets of Germany.
So 2 of the most prominent rabbis being quoted in this story are Chabad rabbis.
In the 1930s, and he said, "Who would ever have thought we would see this on the streets of American cities?" Mike?
Deeply disturbing visuals. Jonathan Hunt, thanks very much.
Sure.
For more on this, let's bring in Fox News contributor Mark Thiessen. Mark, anti-Semitic violence, attacks like this one may not make headline news every single day, but they are certainly happening across America, across Europe, certainly reaching to all corners of the globe. We may have heard over the weekend synagogue goers were murdered in broad daylight in Russia. I don't know. I'm kind of out of questions on this topic, to be frank, because it doesn't seem to ever abate. It seems to be getting worse systemically since October 7th.
You're 100% right. And look, this is being presented by many in the media as a clash between 2 different sides of protesters. It's not a clash between protesters. A pro-Hamas mob targeted a synagogue. They didn't protest in front of the Israeli embassy. We keep hearing, they're not anti-Jew, they're anti-Israel. They didn't choose the Israeli embassy or the Israeli consulate in Los Angeles. They chose a synagogue, and they surrounded, they didn't just protest.
Yeah, they chose a synagogue that was facilitating the purchase of land in Israel. They didn't choose a synagogue that was just trying to daven mincha.
They shouted anti-Semitic chants. They beat Jewish protesters. Imagine if this had been done to a black church in Los Angeles. If a bunch of white supremacists had surrounded a black church, started attacking black churchgoers, beating them, using pepper spray against them, do you think it wouldn't be front page news in every newspaper in America? Do you not think the President of the United States would have issued a statement by now? But because it happens to Jews, it's okay. It just we just let it go by. Another bad day for the Jews in America.
I want to ask you about this too.
Question from Dooovid. Do mainstream yeshiva Orthodox rabbis speak to the press? I'm not sure. Modern Orthodox rabbis love talking to the press. Right? They love it. They can't get enough press, by and large.
New York Congressman Jamal Bowman over the weekend, spoke out, yelled out against Israel, the Biden administration's Israel policy. He ranted and raved against AIPAC. Take a listen to some of what he said.
You're going to show AIPAC.
Okay, so yeshivish means someone who spends a great deal of time studying Torah. So the more time you spend studying Torah, the less likely you are to speak to the press.
The power of the mother South Bronx. We are not going to stand silent while U.S. tax dollars kills babies and women and children.
Okay, let's go to some of the major tweets on this topic. All right, here's Andy No. Andy No says Antifa are furious after LAPD didn't save their comrades as Jewish men attacked them after the group tried storming the Torah Synagogue in a Jewish neighborhood in LA. The far left's comrades bailed, leaving some behind. There's just something about the physiognomy of Antifa. I wish I could just put my finger on it, but there's something highly distinctive about the physiognomy of members of Antifa. There's just a certain look, and I see it and I think, Antifa. And when is Playboy going to release the girls of Antifa? My God, would that be smoking hot?
Do something or work. No, you do something. I'm trying to leave the area. We are not going to lie down. We're not going to lie down. We're never going to do something.
So, yeah, most of this brawling is highly performative, right? Not the best and brightest from either side, all right, were the ones who are eager to brawl. Right? Not a lot of neurosurgeons were out there eager to brawl.
Come on.
Right? People with lives were not out there eager to brawl. Right? People with children were not out there eager to brawl.
Why aren't you guys protecting her? Why aren't you guys protecting
So that's Antifa.
Get out of here. Let's go.
Okay, Islamists and anti-Semitic left have adopted a false narrative that a pogrom at Adas Torah was justified as Jews were gathered for a real estate seminar on how to steal Palestinian property. No development being shown was outside undisputed Israel. Look, everything's disputed, right? Because different groups have different priorities. So everything's disputed. It's not like, oh, Israel proper, no dispute. Right? My outlook on life is that no people just has some kind of sacred right to a particular spot of land, right? You want land, you have to take it, and you have to be able to defend it. Why do these Hamas thugs feel empowered to come into the Pico Robinson neighborhood of the Das Torah Synagogue and threaten Jews? Because Los Angeles Democrats have their back. Well, this is the left, right? Antifa, the far left, the communists do support the pro-Palestine crowd.
Yo, back up! Back the fuck up!
Okay, meet Evelyn Joan. Evelyn participated in the Jihad's brutal assaults on Jews at the Das Torah Synagogue in Los Angeles. Evelyn owns and operates Moro Cafe, a renowned restaurant on Melrose Place at Fred Siegel.
Free Palestine!
Okay, calling for violence against Jews is always horrific, especially evil to shout it outside a synagogue in a Jewish neighborhood. So the Jews needed to use violence to establish the Jewish state of Israel. So where would we be shocked that many pro-Palestine people believe that they need to use violence to establish their own state? So left-wingers who want police dead rush to LAPD for protection after being chased out of a Jewish neighborhood. Far-left rioters, writes Andy No, armed with pepper spray and mobilized to storm the Adass Torah synagogue, but were repelled and confronted by young Jewish men. Chat says Ed Dutton would say that Antifa have a high mutation load, and 100 years ago they would have died in childbirth.
Back off! Back off! Guys, back off, please. Okay.
So Jews are about the least violent ethnic group in America. So in Los Angeles, you've seen a very rare thing, right? That's the development of Jewish violence willing to fight back. Right? Normally, Jews don't fight back with their fists. They fight back with lawsuits and with lobbying and with public relations campaigns.
Hello, you got it? There's 3 people on the other
side. So there's great self-esteem among Jews. As a convert to Judaism, I realize this, and we all think we're perfectly capable of leading. Right, and usually it's not the neurosurgeons and the elite doctors who are getting into the mix here and brawling. Yeah, so the Shmira Security Patrol, all right, it's not made up of doctors and lawyers. It's the more entrepreneurial or working class section of the Jewish community. Okay, UCLA Cultural Affairs Instagram page warns people to prepare for a civil war. Attempts to flip the script, claiming that Jews attacked protesters at the Adass Torah synagogue yesterday. Well, I'm sure there were some Jews attacking some protesters. Here's what I saw at the terrorist rally outside Congregation Adass Torah. The LAPD allowed terrorist supporters to occupy both sides of the synagogue while keeping Jewish counter-protesters out. Only a narrow protected lane allowed access. Young Jewish man hugs another Jewish man after he was assaulted and left bloodied by an anti-Semitic mob outside the Adass Torah synagogue in LA. So the guy who's bloodied here, I suspect that he played some role in getting bloodied. Right, Cam Higbee, right-wing video activist, says, I was assaulted with bear spray over the weekend at Adass Torah.
No, you're not going to do shit.
Wait, why isn't that guy getting arrested? Right, why isn't the guy deploying bear spray in that circumstance getting arrested?
Are you okay? Do you have any water? No! Are you okay?
Hey, listen, get your heart rate down. Get your heart rate down. Breathe through your nose. I know it's awful. Somebody will get water soon. You're gonna flush it, all right?
Get him water. Get him water.
Can't fucking breathe.
Get him water.
Hey, get water. It's all right. Okay. I know it's awful. We're gonna get through it, all right? Hey, it's Sean, by the way.
What's up, man?
All right. They're getting you water.
So did Cam do anything that may have increased his odds of getting pepper sprayed? I suspect so.
Getting you water.
Mine.
Nobody's on my side. Here you go. Don't wipe it. Don't wipe it. Don't wipe it. Don't wipe it. Just let it go.
It's hot. It's hot. It's hot.
I know. It's all right. You'll be all right.
This one's cold. This one's cold.
Get back to work.
This one's cold. Can't breathe. Hey, I'm good. Just hold my shoulder and walk with me, okay? We're getting you off the street. Just walk with me. I'm good. Please don't take a picture, please.
Group strategy wins out over an individual strategy, all right? This guy's able to tap into the power of the group to help himself out of a very painful and uncomfortable situation.
Keep walking. I'm good. You're safe in my hand. I'm taking you somewhere to sit. Thank you. Okay? You're totally safe. Okay? Okay. In a second, there's going to be a big step.
Are you sure I'm safe?
Not yet. Not yet. Behind you. Take a step onto the sidewalk.
Are you sure I'm safe?
I promise you, you're safe. The only way you're not safe is if you're going to attack me.
I'm not going to hurt you.
I promise you, you're safe. Okay, now you're going to sit down. Now you're going to sit. Take off your bag. So you can sit back. All right.
Okay, here's the LED pushback against a violent armed mob who had surrounded the front of Adass Torah, unable to attack the synagogue. The militants assaulted pro-Israel journalists and protesters, leading to brawls. Right, the anti-Semitic pogrom at the Adass Torah Synagogue in LA was organized by the Palestinian Youth Movement. Search for orange shirt. Can anyone identify orange shirt? One of the attackers in the congregation at Adass Torah, Pico Robertson, while he mostly wore a mask, I have one image of him unmasked. Here he is confronting a man and a woman while masked.
Yo, back up! Back the fuck up! Yo, back up!
So would it be, it wouldn't be illegal to rip someone's mask off their face in these circumstances? President Biden, I'm appalled by the scenes outside of Adass Torah. Intimidating Jewish congregants is dangerous, unconscionable, anti-Semitic, and un-American. Yeah, it's not going to win the pro-Palestine crowd a lot of new supporters. Right, anti-Semitic mob blocking Jews from entering Adass Torah, assaulting them and spraying them with bear spray. Deport every single one of them. Yeah, I don't know why this pro-Palestine crowd is allowed to assault people with bear spray and not get arrested for it. So if you have something to live for, if you have people who depend upon you, right, you wouldn't needlessly be throwing yourself into danger. So in the videos, it doesn't look like it's predominantly one side attacking the other, but one side did create an unavoidable situation where there had to be physical escalation when they prevented Jews from entering their synagogue. All right, is this the community self-defense that Antifa and the far left talk about? Jewish counter-protesters confronted far left and pro-Palestine mob that tried to storm the Torah synagogue. It's such a performance. Right, no serious blows. Yeah, so LA Jews more willing to stand up and fight back than any other Jewish community of which I'm aware. So how are they allowed to get away with just bear spraying people?
Just got pepper spray.
All right, so am I wrong? The more you've got to live for, the less need you have to perform some, brawl to participate in the more dangerous parts of this protest, right? Do you think the pro-Palestine crowd was overwhelmingly composed of millionaires, doctors, neurosurgeons, accountants? I don't think so. So I don't know if it's the Twitter algorithm that seems to be obviously favoring the pro-Jewish side. Right, so almost all the top results on this protest are in favor of the pro-Israel side. All right, let's get something from the left, something from the pro-Palestine crowd.
Baby killers.
Real baby killers. Hamas, every single casualty in Gaza is the direct fault of Hamas. The direct fault of Hamas. That's y'all. That's y'all. You guys want to be martyrs. You want to be martyrs. You want to be a martyr, right? You want to be a martyr, right? You want to be a martyr. Go be a martyr. You kill babies. You rape women. You rape dead women. You guys are sick in the head. You're sick, bro. You're baby killers.
So the claims for massive numbers of Hamas rapes on October 7, they are not nearly as clear-cut and strong as has been reported, say, in the New York Times. It may well have happened, but much of the evidence presented has not been compelling.
the event, if we could
Back off.
be at the event. We're in the Jewish community, you know that. If we could just be at the event, that would be awesome.
You just know how to bark, that's all.
That's what makes it much worse, bro.
You got me wrong. You got
But
me
you know,
wrong.
bad for your soul's exile.
Go on, baby
Hold
killer.
on, man. You wouldn't put the phone in your hand. See, I don't have a phone in my hand. Trust me.
Baby killer.
Hey, I've been out
Back
there.
off.
God gave us you the land also if you're Jewish. You understand?
Your friend wants you to go back.
Listen, if you're Jewish, God gave you the land of Israel also.
Okay, more from the Antifa side.
I'm so sorry.
Why are you covering your face? Open your face. Murderers, rapists. Murderers and rapists, go home. You don't want to be here. Go back to where you belong. Nobody wants you here. No.
Brainwash. Brainwash. I won't get you. Don't touch me.
Hey, you're black. What a shame. Racist. You're hanging around with racists. They don't even like you in Gaza.
LAPD just rolled in. All right, cops move in. So the Antifa account here says the cops are being aggressive. Well, without the cops being aggressive, you would allow the pro-Palestine people to be aggressive and prevent Jews from entering their synagogue or even walking down the street. Right, so the state is supposed to have a monopoly on violence in a civilized society. And so you want cops being aggressive in these situations to clean up and clear up public spaces so that everyone has the right to use them. You got to follow police direction or you're a menace to society. And if you refuse to follow police direction, I don't care what they do to you. I don't care if they shoot you. I don't care if they kill you. I don't care if they paralyze you, right? If you refuse to follow police direction, then whatever you suffer, that's on you. And I don't care.
Leave the area. Why is this legal? Leave the area. Why is this legal? You have to leave the area. Leave the area. You have to leave the area.
When someone has a gun and when someone has the authority to use it, it's a really bad idea to try to argue with them. Right? It's a low IQ move. So the pro-Palestine is not a legal protest, right? What they're engaged in is illegal. And so I don't care how aggressive the cops get with them when they refuse to follow police instruction on either side, the pro-Israel side, pro-Africa side, pro-Australia side. If you're engaged in illegal activity and the police order you to desist, right, then you need to follow police direction or suffer the consequences, and I don't care how heinous those consequences are.
Go that way. Leave the area. Leave the area. We have a public right to go. Constitutional. Get back and leave the area. Constitutional. Get back and leave the area. No, you guys gotta go. We have a go. Constitution. Go that way. Go against the Constitution. It's a constitutional right. Leave the area. We have a constitutional right. Leave the area. Leave the area.
Yeah, the cops are doing the right thing here. So the pro-Palestine crowd is complaining here about huge amounts of aggression from cop security and people here for the land sales. Well, you have created a situation where those who just want to go about their day either have to become aggressive or to submit. So you created an untenable situation where any normal people is going to get physically aggressive with you. And that's on you, right? You created a situation that demands the other side either submit or get physically aggressive. Right, if Jews went to a church or to a mosque and tried to prevent people from entering the church or the mosque, I would be on the side of those who physically aggressively move them on out. Right, so that's a replica of 770 that you see here on the right. Right, a big Chabad Lubavitch building. So spilling out onto the streets, yeah, violence tends to escalate. Wars tend to escalate. That's why wise people usually try to avoid these things if possible. So there's a saying, all the world loves a lover. It doesn't. What all the world loves is a fight. Like, I wasn't there for this part, but I was there for a little bit, and it's exciting, right? It gets the blood going. It's viscerally compelling. And that's a Chabad Lubavitch Rebbe King Mashiach flag. So it's not likely the person waving that flag's a doctor, a lawyer, or an accountant. Right? Most people who wave the flag are not professionals. Girl in the middle is putting the JDL flag up in protesters' face, cars pulling out with Israeli flags, folks jumping out of their cars. Yeah, why would they not do that? Right, I suspect that that Jewish woman waving the JDL flag is not a future doctor. So that's another noble thing to be wearing tefillin, right, as you're walking the streets looking for a fight. So the rabbis really, really, really don't like the Jewish participation in these brawls. They don't like Jews yelling things at the pro-Palestinian protesters. They don't like Jews yelling, "You want to get raped?" And there are some Jewish thugs here who are spoiling for a fight, not just pro-Palestine thugs who are spoiling for a fight. And I don't use thug in the pejorative sense. Like, some people like to get physical with their fists, and some people like to fight, right? Takes all kinds. So you got people with 110 IQ talking to each other. Someone threw an egg at a Palestinian protester. The rabbis don't want Jews throwing eggs at these protesters. They want them throwing anything. So, see this girl here? She's eager for a fight. She's on the pro-Jewish Defense League side. She is eager for a fight. Probably because she's never been punched in the face. Right? Almost every guy has been punched in the face. But most middle-class and upper-class women, particularly Jewish women, have not been punched in the face. And so they will escalate to a level of verbal aggression because they've never been punched in the face. Once they've been punched in the face, they won't be so reckless. I'm not advocating punching women in the face, God forbid, but there is a lot of education that goes on once one has been punched in the face for being unnecessarily verbally aggressive. Right? You don't want women like instigating fights. Right? This is a woman who could have beautiful children and a bright, beautiful future, and it could all be ended with one punch. It's just reckless for her to be out there trying to instigate confrontations. It doesn't come from a wise or a grounded or a religious or a spiritual place. Oh, I like her too. She's attractive. She's got spirit. I mean, I like her. And I simultaneously recognize that what she's doing is self-destructive and could very well end her life as she knows it. Chat says Hasidim in Jerusalem throw diapers full of feces at women if they show too much. Well, yeah, there are a minority of thugs in every group.
Get out of here, get out of here.
If you have any influence over your group, you don't want your women out there where they can get physically hurt. Women are much more vulnerable to getting physically hurt. Right? The same punch, right? The same kick, the same push against a man versus a woman, on average, would probably do 2, 3, 4, 5 times as much damage to a woman as to a man. Well, cops are putting on their riot gear because they are confronting a riot. Another fight breaks out. You get into one needless fight like this, you choose to participate and risk everything, and life as you know it could very well end with one punch. Right? One Jewish protester died because he tried to take a bullhorn away from a pro-Palestine protester, got pushed, simply fell back, hit his head, died. Where would you throw everything away? The rabbis in the community really want to get a handle on this. They do not like Jews brawling with pro-Palestinians because they have the wisdom that, one, doesn't make Jews look good. Two, it means that those Jews who are predisposed to doing that are risking their futures. And it's a perfectly reasonable thing that the cops are moving the pro-Palestine crowd away from the synagogue so that they can't block entrance to the synagogue. It's like a street party for the pro-Israel folks. It is like a street party for the pro-Israel folks. That's a very accurate observation. That's how it was experienced by my side. Right, you get tremendous energy because you are joined with people who think similarly, right? There was an energy created and unleashed at an event like this that is not possible when you sit and study a book on your own, right? This type of energy, this type of emotional effervescence is not possible on your own. You have to join with a crowd and have a common purpose and develop a special bond. And that unleashes feelings that are just not possible on your own. What's my opinion of David Bowie musically? I can only judge him on how much I like his music. And so I like some of his songs a great deal, and other parts of his music do absolutely nothing for me. All right, so the rabbis don't want Jews, getting in the faces of the pro-Palestine crowd and taunting them. So rabbis don't run Jewish life like they used to. And so the rabbis really don't like much of this Jewish behavior. And they will do everything they can to keep it under check. So Antifa says Israeli protesters getting closer to the Palestinian protests. It's loud, hot, angry, and hideous. Well, might be hideous for you. I assure you the pro-Israel side are having a fantastic time. Okay, cops forming a riot line. Okay, another fight breaking out.
Press.
Yeah, Antifa. Antifa. Right, the press largely aligned with Antifa. Okay, one of my favorite David Bowie songs, Starman, Heroes, Let's Dance, Life on Mars. Yeah, I think those are the main ones. So those were the least going on in their life get the biggest kicks out of disrupting life for productive citizens. Okay, so here the Antifa journalist says another scuffle. This is pretty terrifying. It's very hostile. What did you think would happen when you show up outside a synagogue and prevent Jews from entering a synagogue? Right? You go to a Jewish neighborhood and you prevent the free movement of Jews. Right? What kind of reaction did you expect? Wait, is that a he, trans? Right? Is that person trans? I assure you, this was the most exciting times for people on who are out there. Right? This was probably the most excitement that such participants have had for weeks and weeks and weeks. I mean, there is a huge adrenaline rush and a sense of collective bonding and just emotional creation and release. So the woman who's taking this video, she's masked, right? She gets to protect her identity while unmasking the identity of everyone else. So it wouldn't be surprising that people who are opposed to her Antifa politics would want to unmask her. Apparently, I'm going to be raped and beheaded. Nice folks out today. Well, what kind of reaction did you think you were going to get? There's a particular hatred of female press. I've been singled out and surrounded several times. Yeah, I wonder, was there anything that you do that contributed to this reaction?
Fuck you, cunt ass bitch. Fuck you, bitch. She's a journalist, okay?
She's an Antifa activist. Journalism is just a pose. But the rabbis won't be thrilled with the Jews going up to women and saying those words.
Bring them home! Bring them home! Bring them home! Let's get the fuck out of here! Fuck Palestine! Fuck you, bitch! Free Palestine! Yeah, right! Fuck you, cunt ass bitch! Fuck you, cunt ass bitch! Fuck you, bitch!
Okay, more attacks on Tina Desiree Berg. So who is this? Let's have a look at her. International Woman of Mystery. Suspect that's her. She seems lovely. Yeah, you go outside and prevent people from entering their synagogue, and you get a surprise that people do not respond kindly to you.
What the fuck? We got pushed!
Like, so the emotions run high, right? There's tremendous adrenaline, right? You could get fired for what you're doing here. You could get permanently maimed. Right, you could destroy your reputation. I just imagine getting caught on video saying those really nasty words to a woman. Like, a lot of downsides for this kind of brawling. So is she really press? I mean, she doesn't feel any obligation to report fairly accurately. She doesn't feel any obligation to report both sides. So on what basis does she get the privileges of being press? Yeah, the protest is like a rock concert for these people. Do I consider some of David Bowie's more flamboyant antics degenerate? Yes. Obviously. These guys called me a dirty C word and then say they want my address so that they can come visit me. And I think the rabbis approve. Okay, she's a woman. She shouldn't be placing herself in a position where she's highly vulnerable to physical violence. But she is, I suspect that she does not have a husband and children at home that she needs to protect. I suspect she does not have some bright, shiny future that she needs to protect. And so she gratuitously risks her well-being.
Back up, go home. Go home, I'm not touching you. Yeah, you dirty cunt, get the fuck out of here. Go home. Get the fuck out of here.
Say it again. Say it again.
Assaults everywhere. I wonder why. So you see the 130 IQ Jews trying to control the 110 IQ Jews and the 100 IQ Jews and discourage them from brawling. So where you see the Jews trying to stop the brawling, right, these are the 130 plus IQ crowd. When you see the Jews wanting to brawl, this is like the 100 IQ Jewish crowd. Right. So that guy there, I think he's a rabbi. Pretty sure he's got an IQ north of 130. And he's trying to tamp down the Jewish side that wants to brawl. And the people who want to brawl, right, they're not future neuroscientists. Yeah, I assure you, all the major rabbis are meeting and figuring out how do we get our own side under control so that they don't squander their futures and make the community look bad. Okay, there's a comment in the chat. Ayman al-Zawahiri was a physician, so radicalism doesn't end with the professional class. I'm not saying that engaging in radicalism is low IQ. I'm saying that brawling for no purpose is low IQ. Right? Strategically planning and carrying out deadly attacks on your enemies, that can be a very high IQ occupation. But needlessly brawling with people where it's not going to do you any good, that's the domain of the low IQ. And the women who are in the middle of this mix, I mean, their men don't have any control over them. Like, what man would want his daughter, his sister, his wife, his cousin, his niece, his auntie, like, getting out there and brawling? So there's a problem in this Jewish community that the men don't have control of their women, and they allow them to go hog wild. Any estimation on bin Laden's IQ? Yeah, I think he's probably north of 130. Yeah, most Orthodox rabbis, particularly most Haredi Orthodox rabbis, will strongly discourage you from becoming obsessed with politics. And certainly wouldn't want you to spend your time brawling like this. Okay, so very few Jews with IQs over 130 would approve of their fellow Jews or anyone just needlessly brawling and risking their well-being.
No fighting! No fighting!
So you look at the pro-Palestine crowd, don't see a lot of future accountants, don't see a lot of future dentists, right? Don't see people with a really bright future, so they're not really risking anything. Okay, that kid is all bloodied up. All right, I suspect that he's not on the road to medical school or law school or starting a multi-million-dollar business. So why would the pro-Palestine crowd be all whining that the opposition was mean to them? Like, you come to a Jewish neighborhood, you block access to a Jewish synagogue, why would you expect to be welcomed? So the average IQ of Palestinians is about 82, right? The average IQ of Ashkenazi Jews is about 110, right? They have almost no social interaction in the United States, right? They live in completely different neighborhoods, they're in different professions.
Enjoy harassing the breast,
Okay, so this guy is screaming, right? Not a future neurosurgeon. Right, he's not going to have a wife and kids at home. Right, he's not running some multi-million-dollar business. Right, this is a tremendous source of excitement, and it's a way of feeling like you're doing something important. Yeah, it's very difficult. Verges on the impossible. What says a 15 to 30 point IQ gap for people to effectively communicate? Just absolutely unbearable for low IQ and high IQ people to live together. They just drive each other nuts. Okay, that'll do it for tonight.